So I'm super excited. I have Dr. Kahleova with me, and so great to be with you today, Dr. Kahleova.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. It's such an honor to be here.
Yes, so happy to have you. We recently met in Florida. You came here to Fort Myers, and I drove over to come see you from Naples, and just so happy to have you here. We're going to do this great series over time and talk about some topics people are very interested in. Dr. Kahleova is the Director of Clinical Research at the Physicians Committee and directs research studies analyzing the effect food choices have on insulin resistance and the regulation of a healthy body weight. And today we're going to talk about fueling weight loss, which is a hot topic today, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like everyone wants to lose weight these days, and so many options now of how to do it,
And there's
quick and
also a
slow.
lot of confusion, like what should I do? What's the best diet for me?
Yes. And pills and potions and shots and everything. So, where are you out of right now? Where are you located today at the moment?
I'm in Washington, D.C., and as you mentioned, we conduct research studies at the Physicians Committee, and we look for the most effective ways for people how to change their diet when they want to lose weight. So a few studies that we've conducted was comparing, let's say, a Mediterranean with a vegan diet. These are, two approaches. Many people believe that the Mediterranean diet would be, a better choice. So we compared the two together. And that was one of the studies that we conducted. We also looked at different mechanisms that are included when people adopt a plant-based diet. So these are the topics that we will be covering today.
Great, can't wait. I bet everyone's excited. I get that often about the Mediterranean diet. And so let's just dive right in. And so our first topic we're going to talk about is calories in and calories out. And, one of the things that people always ask me is a calorie, regardless. And I think that's kind of a myth that people talk about calories at McDonald's compared to a whole food plant-based meal. And anything you want to say about that with calories? Is a calorie, regardless of what the food is?
Not all calories are created equal because sometimes you eat calories that are just empty calories and that don't have any nutrients. Sometimes you may have the same amount of calories, but packed with antioxidants and nutrients. And obviously, these will have different effects on the body. But it's not only about what we eat, but also when we eat. So, another aspect of nutrition, apart from what we eat, is also when's the best time to eat and when should we not eat. So, that's a second topic that we'd like to look into.
Yes, exactly. That's great. So, I guess the main thing is, what does calories in and calories out actually mean? Can you explain that to us?
People just when they're trying to lose weight, they think, well, let me just cut down on calories, let me just eat less. And many people don't even change like what they eat, they just eat less of it, they reduce their portions. But what happens when you reduce your calories and when you just eat less? Well, in a few days, you're becoming hungrier and hungrier, and eventually you're not able to sustain this anymore. And you just eat until you're full because fighting your hunger is not a successful strategy. Um, Another way, people may go about this is looking at their caloric expenditure, energy expenditure. So they may think, well, I like to eat, let me not change what I'm eating, let me just exercise more. and let me exercise out all the extra calories that I'm eating. But when you look at the numbers, it's kind of clear that we don't have enough time in the day to exercise out all the extra calories we would be able to eat. It's kind of time consuming to burn the calories in exercise. Exercise is wonderful, don't get me wrong. It gives you a lot of health benefits. I'm just saying it's super hard to really exercise out all the extra calories like on a standard American diet that people eat like in a day. So, uh, you know, cutting down the calories, not such a great strategy. Exercising out the extra calories, not such a great strategy either. But when you change the diet composition, when you start consuming foods that are rich in fiber, that means all the plant foods, fiber is only in plants. So when you eat a plant-based diet that's super rich in fiber and antioxidants, you may, without even realizing, you may end up eating a little bit less calories than you used to, but you're feeling full. And so that's the long-term strategy for sustaining this type of diet. And it's not only that you're eating a little bit less calories, you're actually burning more calories when you eat. We did a study and we measured the metabolism after a meal on a standard American diet and then when people go vegan. We analyzed this in 244 overweight people, and we found out that after only 16 weeks on a plant-based diet, their metabolism speeded up, and it was 14% higher compared with baseline. So that means burning 14% more calories after each meal you eat. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could just burn off all the extra calories and, they would be released in the form of heat and done, you know? So that's exactly what we found in the study, that people burn 14% more calories when they eat a plant-based diet, which is wonderful. Imagine the impact. This is happening after each meal you eat. So imagine the impact over decades of your life. This can have a significant impact on body weight.
That's great. And is that a study that we can include at the end for people to read?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. We'll put that link in so people can read that. That's wonderful. I know, how long have you been whole food plant-based yourself?
I became vegan when I was 14, and the beginnings were tough. My parents were against the decision, and I remember bringing a package of millet home, and I was excited. I was like, this is like a traditional food, we will be so healthy, like let's cook it. And my mom just didn't know what to do with it, and she looked puzzled. She was like, why would you want to eat millet? This is bird food, I don't know what to do with it, you cook it. And so I just followed the instructions on the package and basically cooked it as rice, and I thought that was the whole dish, or the whole meal. I didn't realize that you cook millet, but you also eat, something with it and combine it with different foods. So for a while, I was eating super healthy, but I thought, the vegan diet is kind of bland. That's the way it is, but it's healthy. And it took me a while to, just discover that it doesn't have to be bland. In fact, it can be super delicious and still healthy.
Yeah, I think people, when you hear millet or amaranth or buckwheat, people get scared. They don't know what to
Yeah.
do. What is it? It's kind of like getting your first Instapot. I know I was terrified to use it. It was in the closet. I was afraid to get out of the box when I went plant-based 9 years ago. So, are you whole food plant-based today?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So, let's
once you
just kind of
experience all the benefits, once you experience all the benefits on yourself, you never want to go back. It's just
exactly, exactly. I agree. I feel the same. So, what would you say? What types of food? I'm just going to go into the food with what types of food are the most effective for supporting fat loss and preserving energy and muscle? A lot of people ask that.
so we looked into this in our study that I just mentioned in the 244 people. And we found out that number one predictor of weight loss was removing all the animal products from the diet. It was number one. Number two, uh, it was eating more of beans because most Americans don't eat quite enough beans and lentils and peas, all the legumes. So eating more of the beans and lentils and peas, that was another strong predictor of weight loss. And number three, keeping the fat content low. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, olive oil, so good for you," blah blah blah, and they
Or
put
fish oil.
a lot of it in their salads. Not so good for you. Be super mindful of the fat that you're consuming. In our studies, we ask people to limit their fat content in the diet to 30 grams a day. Yeah,
Mm.
which is kind of strict, but it's helpful. If you want to speed up the weight loss, keeping the fat content low on the vegan diet is super helpful.
Mhm. So I won't go into because I always get this from people when I mention beans, they worry about gas, but we won't get
Mm.
into that today.
Well, let's cover it just briefly. When somebody is not used to eating beans, what helps is going for the smaller varieties, like let's say red lentils, which is
Mhm.
cooked like super fast and it's super small. That one will give you less gas. It's helpful to soak the legumes overnight and then, get rid of the fluid and exchange it several times before you cook it. That removes some of the components that make people gassy. And another strategy is start with small amounts, but eat them every day. So if you're not eating any at this point because they give you gas, start with just a little bit, of the red lentils, let's say, and eat a super small amount every single day. That will help your gut microbiome adapt, and
Mm.
gradually you will be able to increase the amounts and also, include other varieties of legumes.
Those are great tips. Wonderful. So, what about the quality versus quantity of food, and how important is whole food versus processed?
Yeah, that's a great question. Once you are mindful of the fat content in your diet, it kind of limits your options for processed foods. It's if you want to only eat the low fat vegan options, then most of the processed foods are out automatically. So from the ones that are still available, some crackers when you travel, some popcorn, those would be just fine. Generally speaking, keeping the grains whole instead of refined grains is really helpful for controlling the blood sugar. So let's say popcorn is a good example of whole grain, and it's a simple food and it's done in an air popper in just a few minutes. And if you sprinkle a little bit of nutritional yeast on top, if you put a little bit of Bragg's,
Mhm.
so that the nutritional yeast will stick, it's delicious and it's super low in fat.
Yeah, I know Rip Esselstyn. I did an interview with him a few months ago, and he has this great popcorn link that talks about all different varieties of popcorn flavors that you can make ranch and pizza and all kinds. And it's amazing. I was looking yesterday for a client going to vacation, and I went through all these different popcorns and things for her to take on her trip, and everything had the oil and sugar.
Yeah.
And unbelievable. The good news is when you go in the grocery store and you become whole food plant-based, you can zip in and out of the grocery store. You
Yeah.
don't go
Yeah.
through all the
Absolutely.
aisles, right? So that's
Yeah.
great.
Go to the produce aisle first, stock up,
Yep.
and you know, most of the other aisles can just stay there.
Yeah. You can be in and out. So this is something you had mentioned in the beginning. Does timing of meals actually affect fat loss? Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Many people believe that snacking will help them in weight reduction, but it's actually the opposite. Studies show that when we snack throughout the day, we end up eating more calories. So it's much better to eat only the main meals per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And now when in a study they gave people the same meal in the morning and then in the evening. And after the evening meal, people deposited more fat, 50% more fat compared with the morning meal. That's because of the circulation and of the hormones in our body. The concentrations change throughout the day. And when we eat in the morning, the body is much more able to process all the calories. So, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper is a truthful proverb. I looked into this topic and conducted a few studies on this. One was analyzing the data from more than 50,000 participants in the Adventist Health Study 2 in Loma Linda, California. And we found out that when people ate breakfast, they were leaner than those who skipped breakfast. The timing of the largest meal was super important. Eating breakfast as the largest meal, those people were the leanest compared with eating lunch as the largest meal and eating dinner as the largest meal. Those people were the worst in terms of weight management. And also the number of meals eaten per day was super important. 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner was our reference group. And people who ate more than 3 meals a day, 4, 5, 6, so those people who are snacking, they tended to gain weight over time. But
Mhm.
there was a large group of people who ate only 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, and they were better off in terms of their weight management compared with eating 3 meals a day. And we decided to take this model from this observational study and put it to the test in people with type 2 diabetes, who not only needed to lose weight, but also needed some help with their diabetes. And we found out, we compared 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, with 6 small meals a day. The same calories, the same diet. On 2 meals a day, people lost 50% more weight. They lost more liver
Wow.
fat, their insulin sensitivity improved, their diabetes improved more. And interestingly, they also reported feeling less depressed on 2 meals a day, so their mood
Mm.
improved more. And here's the kicker, they felt less hungry, you know.
Wow.
Writing the study, the number one concern was, I don't know if I can do the 2 meals a day. I'll be probably starving and I will not be able to follow it. But after only a few days, people started loving it. And at the end of the study, most people decided to stick with it for life.
Mhm.
So eating breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper can be also taken literally. And you can only eat 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, if you want to like really increase the fat loss and in how you eat.
Well, that's all great. And I will say that as a health coach, what I've noticed is most of my clients eat out at night. They're
Yeah.
either entertaining or they're going out to dinner, and then they always love the the snack when they go home, whether it's chocolate or have the dessert at night. They're not eating like a popper at night. So when you have people like that, what do you say to them? And one of the areas I'll say that I look at is that I learned in nutrition school was that there's, more than just the food. There's obviously something else going on with stress or other things, other areas in their life. And I have found that most people do, skip breakfast. They like to do a lot of intermittent fasting. And so what you're saying is very different than I see of what people are really doing. And especially now with all the different new weight loss shots, people are eating even smaller amounts of food and, drinking more alcohol. And so it's interesting what's really happening out in the world that I'm seeing every single day and how to kind of work. And what would you say to somebody, that eats out every night, travels, they're eating big dinners, they're social, they're trying to lose weight? Is there anything that you would say besides stop it?
Yeah, can you consider socializing with people at other times of the day and changing the
Mhm.
activity? Can you socialize with people playing sports, in the evenings, let's say?
Yes.
Can you go out for lunch during the weekend together? Can you host a breakfast together, in the morning sometimes, especially on the weekends? I mean, be creative in, how you can change your routine and how you relate to people around food in social situations.
That's great advice. Yes. Wonderful. So we already talked about eating smaller, frequent meals. Is that better than three large ones? Um, let's see what else we can talk about. What
Well,
are
we
some of
can we
your,
can yeah, we
go
can look
ahead.
into like what to eat, because there's so much confusion about what to.
Yes, sure. And go ahead.
So many people believe, you know, a plant-based diet, that sounds too restrictive, that sounds too extreme. Let me do a Mediterranean diet. So we compared the two in a study where for 16 weeks people were on the Mediterranean diet and then switched to a vegan diet for another 16 weeks. And the second group started with a vegan diet and then switched to the Mediterranean diet. So this is called a crossover trial, where each participant tries both. And we found out that on the Mediterranean diet, people did not lose any weight on average,
Mm.
which may be surprising to many people. But it's actually in line with what we see in the Predimed study. The changes in body weight are super small, if any. It's still a healthier diet than the standard American diet, but it just doesn't work for weight loss. And also improvements in other cardiometabolic outcomes, such as blood lipids and insulin sensitivity and body composition. All of these improved on the vegan diet, but no change on the Mediterranean diet. The only outcome that improved on the Mediterranean diet was a reduction in blood pressure, both systolic and diastolic. So blood pressure was reduced on both the vegan and the Mediterranean diet, and it was actually larger on the Mediterranean diet. But it was reduced on both. So only blood pressure dropped on the Mediterranean diet, but
Mhm.
all the other cardiometabolic outcomes improved on the vegan diet, and people lost weight, their body composition improved, their insulin sensitivity improved, their blood lipids, plus the blood pressure.
So why do you think the blood pressure worked on the Mediterranean diet?
It's been described that the polyphenols in olive oil may
Mhm.
may contribute to larger reductions in blood pressure. So it's one of the benefits. It's great. But if your goal is to lose weight, then it's not a successful strategy.
Mm-hmm. Um, okay, that's great. So I'm let's see. There's so much I want to go cover today, but we're going to just do a very short video, um, or short interview today. So, what would you say is the most common mistake that people make when trying to eat for fat loss?
The most common mistake is that they start cutting down on calories, um, or they change their diet to something that is not sustainable and is not healthy. You can obviously you can lose weight even on cookies, if you eat small amounts. But is it healthy? Is it a healthy weight loss? Are you getting all the nutrients that you need? No, you don't. And you can say the same about a keto diet. Those are popular, but in a study, Kevin Hall compared a keto diet with a vegan diet, and these people were living for a month in a metabolic ward, so everything was measured. And he found out that on a keto diet, people lose weight, but most of it comes from muscle. Who
Mm,
wants to lose muscle? I mean, not good weight loss. So on a vegan diet, the weight loss was much healthier. People were losing mainly fat instead of
mhm.
muscle.
Okay. Well, good. This is some good, anything else you wanted to say around this topic?
I'd like to encourage everybody because weight loss may feel daunting on many people. It
Mhm.
feels like I don't know where to start. But with these two strategies that we covered today, what you eat and making a shift toward a plant-based diet and keeping the fat content low, and also paying attention to when you eat, making breakfast the biggest meal of the day, and skipping supper if you can, or at least making it the lightest meal of the day and pushing it, a bit earlier in the day. Those are two strategies that are super successful, and many people find it super easy to lose weight with these two strategies.
As you're saying that, I have one more question for you because I get this all the time, which I'm sure you do too, being whole food plant based. I get this question of if do I need to eat more protein to lose weight?
No, you don't. Yeah,
And animal protein, obviously.
protein is being overemphasized. People are obsessed about protein. The protein needs for the body are fairly small. On average, women need roughly 50 grams a day of protein, men around 60 grams a day. Not a problem on a plant-based diet. If you feel like you'd like to have more protein, add a little bit more soy milk or more beans and more tofu, and you will be just fine.
Red lentils, little
Yeah,
lentils for beans.
yeah, lentils are super high in protein.
Yes. It's interesting. When I used to race and did Ironmans, I used to do a lot of, I wasn't vegan then or whole food plant based. So I used to do a lot of protein, a lot of animal products. And I thought more protein, the leaner I would get.
Mm,
And that was the sickest time I was in my life with a lot
yeah.
of digestion problems and everything else,
Mm,
depression, adrenal fatigue. And then it wasn't until really 9 years ago that I actually eat less protein as an athlete and feel lighter and better than I ever have. So
mm,
it's amazing. Like you said, you got to you have to experience it yourself and feel the
mm.
difference. And then there's nothing to sell and you never go back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, thank you so much for our interview today. And our next interview that we're going to do, we're going to talk about, which it's a hot topic here in Naples, especially, but I think all over the country, is really the best nutrition. What's the best nutrition for the brain?
Yeah.
They want to know, about brain health and how we can help them memorize everything and
Mhm.
yeah, live a long life, long, healthy life. So look forward to our next discussion.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
Thank you
See you
so
soon.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.